We have some breaking news coming out here. The Las Vegas Raiders have officially went out there and signed wide receiver Amari Cooper. And today we're going to talk about what this means for the Raiders as we go forward. Plus, we heard the report already with Jakobi Meyers. Are these two things connected? A lot of people think these two things are essentially connected, and we're going to talk about it. So Ian Rappaport put it out there. The Raiders are signing Amari Cooper. It's a 1-year contract. The official amount of what the Raiders are paying him is not known yet, but I'm going to assume it's probably like somewhere in the range of like $3 to $7 million. I wouldn't expect it to be like 15 million or anything like that. This is going to be a low cost type of signing for the Raiders, especially given Amari Cooper is kind of where he's at in his age. But I love the fact that the Raiders are bringing Amari Cooper home. Right, this is a guy that's a former Raider wide receiver. He's a first round pick. I always hated getting rid of Amari Cooper, but I've always been a fan of Amari. And I think this just makes so much sense. Not only the fact that Jakobi Meyers has kind of requested that trade, but even more than that, when you take a step back and you say, hey, let's look at this Raiders offense. Let's look at what this offense kind of consists of. Right now you have wide receivers that are, very, very fast. They're super explosive. That'll outrun people. And Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton. You have Thornton and Colin Johnson, although I'm not sure if Johnson's going to actually make the roster. But you have those two guys that are like 6'5", right? They're jump ball type of guys as well. Then you have a guy in Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer who can basically outbox and out-jump, right? Just be physical. And those are different type of weapons that the Raiders have with different type of characteristics. But the one thing we don't really have is a guy that can separate purely based off of route running. We don't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have Jamar Chase. We don't have these guys that can run these elite routes. We had it with Devontae Adams last season, even the year before that. But we haven't had that. And I know it's not necessarily super important to have a guy that's like an elite route runner, but I think it does open up the playbook a little bit. Think about this. When the Raiders run some sort of dagger concept, let's say the slot wide receiver goes deep, that outside wide receiver hits a dig route. The outside receiver that hits that dig route, at the top of his route, when he hits that cut towards the inside, he has to separate. He has to sell that route to the outside before he jumps inside. Amari Cooper provides that to the Raiders, and we don't have a guy who's an elite route runner at this point right now on the roster. And I think Amari Cooper gives you a guy that's an elite route runner. So to me, it just makes a lot of sense to be able to kind of bring that type of guy in. Obviously, Jakobi Meyers, I would say, is not an elite route runner. He's good in a lot of different aspects, but he's definitely not an elite separator. And I think with Amari Cooper, although he's up there in age, which is going to be another factor to this entire thing, you're going to have to kind of figure out, how much is Amari Cooper playing? With that, is Jakobi Meyers actually going to get traded? Will he still be here with the Raiders? Or are the Raiders going to move off of Jakobi? Like, how do you kind of handle that situation? And then if Jakobi is here, right, let's say the Raiders do figure it out, or he does decide he's going to just end up playing the season without a new contract. How do those two guys kind of fit in with one another? What about Trey Tucker? What about Dante Thornton? Like, how do the roles change with all these different guys? Some people do think that Jakobi Meyers is not going to play for the Raiders ever again at this point, which I don't know if I 100% agree with that. But if that does end up happening, then that means that Amari Cooper's kind of just overtaking Jakobi Meyers' role. And I think that would make sense for the Raiders as well. I think Amari Cooper does a lot of what Jakobi Meyers does. They're very similar players in terms of like, hey, they're like the main wide receiver for the Raiders, right? Wide receiver, not tight end or running back, but like wide receiver specifically. I think the Raiders are at this point now where the fact that you bring in Amari Cooper, the fact that he's here with the Raiders now, you can actually look forward to in 2 weeks, going up against Patriots, because without Jakobi Meyers, it does change things up. But adding in Amari Cooper, you are now at that point where you have another wide receiver that kind of replaces that role. Some people think that one of the reasons why Jakobi Meyers has requested a trade and ultimately doesn't want to be with the Raiders is because of the fact that the Raiders are bringing in Amari Cooper. I saw someone kind of throw this out there, and it kind of makes sense, but I'm not 100% sold on the idea. And the idea is this, right? Amari Cooper did not walk into the building today and sign his contract today. Like, he didn't do that. Chances are he probably visited the Raiders in the past. Chances are Jakobi Meyers was probably told in the last day or two that, hey, Amari Cooper's already kind of been in the building. We're going to bring him in. We're officially signing him. And Jakobi might feel like, hey, my role has already kind of been on the decline a little bit. I don't feel like this team here really wants me, this regime, this coaching staff. Truth be told, even in the preseason, we saw Jakobi Meyers' role definitely go down. Dont'e Thornton's getting these 50-50 jump balls. He's getting all these targets. Like, the Raiders literally came out on the first play of the game in the first preseason game, and they threw it deep to Dont'e Thornton. On the second play of the game, it was a deep pass to Dont'e Thornton. In the second week, it was a deep pass to Brock Bowers. The Raiders have kind of come out and said, we're going to make Dont'e Thornton one of the focal points of this offense. And I know it hasn't clicked yet, but Thornton is a rookie, so he is kind of developing. He will get to a point at a certain time where you can 100% trust him. He's a good route runner. He's a good separator. The hands, everything works well for him. We're going to get to that point at some point with Thornton. And I almost feel like Jakobi Meyers may have already kind of seen that, hey, my role is officially changing with the Raiders. And now they're even bringing in Amari Cooper, another wide receiver that I'll have to be competing with. Jakobi Meyers wants to get paid, right? Let's not overlook that small fact right there. He also understands that his numbers and the stats he has also has an impact on how much he ends up getting paid. I didn't really used to think about it in this way, but even Malcolm Koonce as an example, if Koonce played last season healthy and he has 13 sacks, the guy's making $30 million this season for the next 5 seasons, right? He's getting a monster contract, but he tore his ACL, so he's now in an unfortunate situation where nothing's kind of guaranteed for him. Jakobi Meyers, a similar situation as Koonce, a little bit different, right? One got hurt, but for Meyers, it's the fact that his opportunities are about to decline. That wasn't even the fact that he wasn't already going to be the vocal point, right? You already had Ashton, Jeanty, you already had Brock Bowers, and then you throw in Dont'e Thornton, and now on top of that, Amari Cooper. I understand why Jakobi Meyers wants his contract. If he doesn't get it, why he might ultimately end up getting traded. It is an unfortunate situation for the Raiders, but at the end of the day, the Raiders have to do what's going to make them better, right? You always got to think about what's going to make this roster better, what's going to allow you to win football games as we kind of go forward. And I love the fact that we're bringing in Amari Cooper. I understand the guy's getting up there in age. This is like his 10th season in the NFL. And he hasn't been super productive over the past 2 seasons anyways. Not 100% sure what's the case with him. He went to the Buffalo Bills last season. He had all the opportunity to be elite, given that his quarterback was Josh Allen, and it just never worked out. And maybe it was because he just didn't get the opportunities. He just didn't play all that much for the Bills. But the year before that, when he was with the Browns, the guy was still pretty solid, right? I think he had 1,100-1,200 yards just 2 years back. So I still think Cooper can end up being a good wide receiver for the Raiders. Plus, if Cooper wants another contract on top of that, I think he's kind of motivated to have success. And of course, he's coming back home to the Raiders. So really, really, really like this signing by the Las Vegas Raiders. I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Do you guys think Jakobi Meyers not wanting to be with the Raiders, or not essentially requesting that trade, do you guys think it has to do with the fact that the Raiders are signing Amari Cooper, or do you guys think it's more so of he just wants a new contract? Because the timing of it is really odd, right? If you want a new contract, you don't wait till the end of preseason. You do that early. You do it before the preseason begins, before camp begins. You don't even show up. And Jakobi Meyers still ended up showing up, and something tells me that it has to do with the fact that the Raiders signed Amari Cooper. But that's kind of speculation. Either way, I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. I love this signing to bring in Cooper, but what do you guys think about it? Do you guys think it adds another dimension to the Raiders offense? Let me know in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.